Hey, what's going on everybody? As you can see, it's good old leg day, and so I actually did some pre-exhaustion work just because it's high volume day. I want to make sure that as I get into my squats and my RDLs and other movements that I'm actually properly warmed up. And so I'm doing some leg extensions, just getting some blood in there, kind of doing a little bit like 12 to 15 reps, even upwards to 20 reps, doing a few sets in this movement. I actually move over to leg press as well, and this is another thing that I typically don't do until after I do squats. And so it's kind of a new experience to kind of put this first, but I wanted to try something new just because it's been 7 weeks since changing anything up, and just trying to put some emphasis in there beforehand, just a little switch up. And so just a little tip when it comes down to the leg press is that when you do more of a neutral leg positioning or feet positioning, where it's not up or down, it's just kind of right in the center, that's going to help target the hamstrings and the quads. So the more you go up on the machine or position your feet upwards, the more it's going to put emphasis on the quads, and then the lower the position, it's actually it's going to put a lot more pressure on the hamstrings, and as you lower your feet positioning, it's going to help focus on the quads. Then I actually move over to the squats, and I'm properly warmed up. Usually I have to warm up quite a bit to actually work up to 225, but this time I actually was able to get there pretty quickly. It was like the first set I felt really good with 135, and then I just bump up the weight to 225, and just really focusing on depth and really focusing on the whole movement, not just the the up and down movement, but also actually just how I set the bar when I first take it off the rack, and how I put it back on the bar, and just the feet positioning as well. So I actually was able to target 245 as well within this particular lift today. And generally I don't go this heavy on Fridays, but I actually felt really good after that pre-exhaustion work or that warm-up, and that's just something to note as you continue on with how you set up your routine. But basically I did not feel an effect on how my strength was after doing that pre-work. So I actually felt like I was able to complete reps a lot easier and a lot more fluid within these movements. So just moving on. So now I'm moving over to RDLs, and I start off with the 80s as a working set. I actually move up to the 90s and see the second part of this movement. But just really trying to get that full range of motion, that full stretch at the bottom, and then that squeeze of the glutes and hamstrings at the top of the movement, just to help out with that posterior chain. And the key is you want to make sure that you're not bowing out your back, or you just want to make sure that as you're going down, your hips are actually going a little out, and you're not breaking that spine neutrality as you're going down in that movement. What I typically do, I go straight to the standing calf raises, but somebody else was using that, so kind of just had to go with the flow and did some seated. I typically don't like this movement for me personally, just because I don't necessarily feel it as hard when it comes to the calf raises seated, but this is something that sometimes you have to do, is you kind of have to switch it up a little bit just because of other people using the equipment. And so I did some 90s and felt really good with this movement. Just love the fact that I'm hitting the hamstrings and glutes in an isolated manner, and just trying to keep that back as straight as possible, or just not breaking spine neutrality as I'm going down in that movement and coming back up. So definitely a great movement to incorporate as you're doing that. And then just going into seated calf raises once again, and then I'll have one more exercise to complete this workout. So I'm good doing some hack squats, some reverse hack squats, and I generally don't do this movement, but I actually wanted to start incorporating once again to help put more emphasis on the hamstrings and glutes. But as you can see, my back is not where it should be as far as proper technique, and it's just because I haven't done this for a while. So that's another reason why I videotape myself too, is just to make sure that I'm not breaking technique or breaking form, and I can make adjustments on the next set. I just don't want to cause injury. I don't want to put pressure where it doesn't need to be. So I'm not too proud of what this movement looks like, but hopefully it helps with understanding that you gotta definitely make some adjustments just so that you're properly getting that form. So this one I actually was able to do 225 or 245s on each side and really help out with focusing on my form, my technique, and I felt like this was how I was able to complete this set with proper technique and just put a lot of emphasis on the hamstrings and the glutes. And then I'm still looking to do a video review on the pre-workout that I just got, Trigger, from Infinite Mass, so stay tuned for that. But if there's any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll definitely address them and reply back to them, and thanks for checking in. Bye bye.